Revelation chapter 15. The Song of Moses. As noted earlier, the book of Revelation echoes the framework of the Feast of Tabernacles and the Feast of Pentecost. The Feast of Tabernacles was a harvest festival celebrating Israel's sojourn in the wilderness and its entrance into the Promised Land. It was a celebration for Israelite and Gentile, a type of the ingathering of the peoples into the kingdom of God, reminding all that they were pilgrims and strangers on earth. Man's wilderness journey is his struggle from a fallen world into the new creation, and it is his pilgrimage out of a fallen world into the kingdom of God re-established. Man's destination and citizenship is the kingdom of God, in heaven and on earth. Throughout Revelation, the ingathering is heralded, as well as the judgment on those who oppose the saints' entrance into the Promised Land. Pentecost celebrates the giving of the law to Moses, and the Christian Pentecost celebrates the writing of the law on the tables of our hearts by the indwelling Spirit. The first Pentecost at Sinai was heralded by trumpets, the shaking of the earth, lightning and storm, as the Lord and his hosts drew near to the sinful earth. Throughout Revelation, we see the same trumpet blasts of judgment, the shaking of the earth, the storm and thunder, as God approaches man, and nothing stands between God and man except the judgment of the law. Revelation chapter 15 gives us two visions. Again, these visions are not to be understood chronologically, but as true for all time between the first and the second coming, and at every time. 1. Verses 2 to 4. The first vision is of the glassy, or better, transparent sea, with the saints standing on the shore thereof, singing, the song of Moses, the servant of God, and the song of the Lamb. The song of Moses was composed and sung when Israel was delivered from Egypt, taken through the Red Sea, and the privilege to witness its enemies overwhelmed by the returning waters of the Red Sea. Ahead of Israel lay the wilderness journey before they could enter the Promised Land. Before them also were enemies challenging their passage. But the great reality was deliverance from bondage, from slavery, and equipment with the glorious liberty of the sons of God. They were now a holy nation and a royal priesthood in God, whose presence marched with them and who made his royal tent in the centre of the camp. Every line of this song echoes the Psalms and the prophets. The deliverance foreshadowed in the Exodus, in the return from the Babylonian captivity, in every deliverance of Israel, all these and more were fulfilled at Calvary in the great deliverance Christ wrought for his church in overthrowing the bondage of sin and death. This is the joyful song of the redeemed of every age and the joyful anticipation of full and final victory. All nations shall come and worship before thee, for thy judgments are made manifest. Christ is King of the nations. This is the Christian expectation and must be the Christian program for action. The sovereignty of Christ over all things and all nations. The song of deliverance in Moses' day and now is the song of the Lamb. The sea has been seen elsewhere as dark and troubled, spewing forth the beast and storming against the church. Now, viewed from the throne of God again, we see it as transparent, clear as crystal. Again, this witnesses to the glorious fact that there are no dark corners in God's universe, no brute facts in creation. Every fact is a created fact and has meaning only in the light of the creative purposes of God. Therefore, no facts are a hindrance to the saints, because all facts are God-given facts and are to be interpreted in terms of the glory of God and our glory in him. We therefore know that all things indeed do work together for good to them that love God, to them who are the called according to his purpose. Romans chapter 8, verse 28. Verse 1 speaks of another sign, so called because of the two signs which have preceded it. Revelation chapter 12, verses 1 and 3. The first sign was the woman, or the true church of God, and the second, the dragon, or Satan, and his two beasts. The third sign is a vision of the fullness of judgment in the hands of God's messengers, and the vision of the transparent sea, the cosmos as completely transparent and subject to the triune God. The sea is mingled with fire or judgment. 2. Verses 5 to 8. The second vision is of the tabernacle in heaven. The true sanctuary is unveiled or opened. This opening of the sanctuary was accomplished by the Incarnation, atonement and resurrection. The only begotten Son, which is in the bosom of the Father, he hath declared him. John chapter 1, verse 18. The light shines forth, the glory of the present, into the entire world, making transparent the sea or world and laying bare the sins of the nations. 7 angels, representing the fullness of judgment, go forth with 7 golden vials, or bowls, full of the wrath of God. These angels are clothed in pure and white linen, and having their breasts girded with golden girdles. This description suggests that of Christ himself. Chapter 1, verse 13. The angels are clothed with royal authority as they represent Christ the King, inflicting justice on those who rebel against his authority and sovereignty, but they also discharge his priestly office. Intercession with God the Father results in God's judgment in history. There is no entrance into the temple without judgment. Judgment is always a necessary aspect of salvation. To expect God to bypass judgment and institute a salvation bereft of it is to think in pagan terms.